Oh, sorry. Hello. Does anyone remember from last show? You guys are like stone cold. This is crochet. Hello, Sarit. This is crochet.
We don't even know what you're doing. We don't even know what you're doing. That's ancient.
Because we were talking last time. You were teasing me about crocheting. So here we go. If anyone wants the pattern,
but if you were texting on an iPhone, we would all understand you. If you were texting on an iPhone, we all know what you're doing.
Understood. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show, and we are doing today the Secret Wives Club. This is episode number 5, and we are going through marriage secrets. Get your copy. We're on page. We're doing it real slow because everyone's asking a bazillion questions. We got a lot of emails with questions, and we are very grateful. We are on page 14. Right? 14. I can't even read. Sorry. 24. I better get my glasses on. Oh yeah. Did I have my glasses on, Sri? You hate when I wear my glasses, but can I read and do my glasses? Okay. I'll take them off. Remind me after I'm reading. Okay. I'm going to start with lighting candles. Everybody, we're page 24 and we're going to go through. I'm going to spend the first few minutes just reading the page and then we're going to go right to questions. Okay. Lighting candles. As I was teaching our Shalom bayis Misora to a small group in my home, something really troubled me. Why wasn't this crucial information for our own happiness being taught to every married woman on the planet? Like, hello, that wasn't in the book, actually. They would have edited that out. What are you talking about? Okay, but anyway, here was a proven formula for extraordinary marital joy, and yet it was not common knowledge, even though it had been accessible on our bookshelves for 3,000 years, meaning every book that has been written for the last 3,000 years on marriage from a Torah perspective, it's sitting on our bookshelf. It's kind of like forgotten. Okay. So many couples didn't even have a clue as to how much more contentment and closeness was available to them. And worse, many couples suffered from lack of Shalom bayis when the solutions were right there at their fingertips. This is where you get your tissues out. I'm going to start crying. This is horrible. It's horrible. Like if people have bad marriages and there's nothing you can do about it, okay. There's something you can do about it. Find our Misora, either my book, somebody, by the way, all my book proceeds go to pay for my staff, okay? I'm not making money off this. All I want, my motivation is to get you a better marriage. And whether it's my book or any Torah book on marriage, know this cold and your life will be better from the second you start reading. Okay, keep to the book, Leah, keep to the book. Okay, right? Okay, but what baffled me the most as I worked in the community is why wasn't Shalom bayis, peace in the home, at the top of our national agenda? Why wasn't it given the central importance in our lives that it so rightfully deserved, but still deserves. Okay, it says deserved, but it should be deserves. How could it be that all of the answers we need for increased peace in our homes were right in front of us, and yet no one seemed to be making this a top priority? Alarmed by the lack of priority that Shalom bayis is given, both individually and communally, I brought this issue to Hagon Harav Shmuel Kamenetsky Shlita, Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva of Philadelphia, who has been an invaluable guide to me in my work on Shalom bayis, and his wife, Tema. Shalom. Okay, I was close with her, and it's a big loss to me and to guidance. Okay, Rabbi, I said, I believe that the avoda of our generation is to work on Shalom bayis. To which the rabbi responded, and Mrs. Richeimer, what exactly is your source for that? Actually, I replied, I was kind of hoping the Rosh Yeshiva would be my source. Actually, I replied, I was hoping that the Rosh Yeshiva would be my source for this. This elicited a hearty chuckle. Then I said, in Midrash Rabbah on Bamidbar, Hashem tells us Shalom is so great that it is equal to everything in creation. And the Torah Kohanim teaches, without Shalom, there is nothing, because Shalom outweighs everything else. I continued, everyone is trying to stop Lashon Hara, gossiping as they should be. But maybe if marriages were stronger, people wouldn't feel the need to gossip. And perhaps dressing modestly wouldn't be such an issue. And maybe we'd have fewer challenges with kids and teenagers and the internet. So many of our urgent communal problems could be repaired by concentrating our efforts on the very foundation of our nation, which is Shalom bayis. Rabbi Kamenetsky answered with words that meant the world to me. Mrs. Richeimer, you must teach this to as many people as you can. One candle should light many candles. By the way, ladies, you are the candles, okay? This is something for you to imbibe, our Misora, to imbibe it and to teach it to your friends and to your children and your mother. Well, do it respectfully. Okay, here we go. So that's
to your
what
mother-in-law, to your mother-in-law.
Oh, great,
To the
great.
mother.
Really good advice, sorry.
The mother-in-law. I know, I'm like the evil, like the
Daughter-in-law.
it's
You're
hard.
the yummy mother-in-law. I've met her. She's very, very
She's
yummy.
amazing. That's why I can make that joke easily.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm setting out to do, one marriage at a time. Just by reading this book, you are now part of the solution to help move our nation toward greater Shalom bayis. But still, to this day, I can't quite figure out why all of us aren't putting our formidable energy and resources into the one area that would have the most powerful impact for the future of our nation, and that is Shalom bayis. We all know that when Shalom bayis is missing from a home, all kinds of problems seems to crop up in every corner. Lack of Shalom bayis seems to be at the root of so many of our communal problems, ills, and yet for some inexplicable reason, we are all running around plugging up holes in the barrel rather than simply working on the one issue that has the potential to heal all the other issues in your life. Everything you work on Shalom bayis, the blessing from Hashem will come into your home and fill your home, and all the other problems that you have and you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off to try and solve. If you work on Shalom bayis, God guarantees us and promises us that he will take care of all of the other things in our life. It doesn't mean life is going to be perfect, but it will be better, guaranteed. With Shalom bayis, all manner of challenges are surmountable. If marriages are functioning well, families thrive, communities flourish, and our nation is strong. Okay, that was the check section on lighting candles and trying to spread this Misora. We're going to go to a couple of questions before we get to the next part. Go ahead.
Okay, so firstly, before we go into a question, Shelly said, wait, she has actually two messages. So I want to say her first one. She said, Marriage Secrets is the first book on marriage that speaks to me. I'm enjoying hearing you read it, Leah, with all your add-ons.
Okay.
So there you go. You don't have to feel bad.
Okay.
It's much more fun. Okay. And then she says, Leah and Sarit, marriage is such a private, confidential topic. It's not something I feel comfortable discussing with a friend or family member, or even a rabbi.
Say that
So
again?
she's basically,
she's
saying that it's such a private, confidential topic. She doesn't feel comfortable discussing it. Like when she needs advice or when she needs help or when she's grappling with something in marriage, she doesn't feel comfortable asking a friend or a family member or even a rabbi. She just feels uncomfortable.
So asking a friend or a relative is probably very sketchy. It can lead to really weird stuff. Asking a rabbi, or even better yet, a rebbitzin, or a therapist, or somebody who an older wise neighbor who lives up the street who's been married for 64 years, asking somebody like that, it's not only allowable to do, it's mandatory. You can't invent in your head, whether you had role models. I had a group here this week and talking about, how many people, everyone who feels like they had a dysfunctional childhood. And I said, you don't have to answer, but I could tell from everybody's face. Everyone feels like, that parents messed up this and that and the other thing, or whatever. We should have more luck as parents. But anyway, everyone feels it has baggage and stuff. If you haven't had trauma, you haven't lived. If you haven't had painful things and suffering in your life, maybe there's one of you who haven't, please call me and give me some tips. But everybody has stuff in their life, and you need to you need to feel comfortable. She's saying she doesn't feel comfortable. I'm saying, okay, it's fine to feel uncomfortable, but just do it. If you have questions on marriage, look, what is the first thing we teach our child, right? Everyone thinks, the most important sentence in the Jewish language is Shema Yisrael, right? I mean, that's it. That's the most important, and that's true. But when the first thing we teach a child when he's cognizant is Torah Tziva Lana Moshe. That means that the Torah was given to Moshe at Har Sinai, and why is that? Why is that something we inculcate into our children? Is that the right word? Inculcate. Okay. Right. Yeah, good. I'm getting a nod.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. we get, why do we get that? Why is that the most important thing before they can even talk? We sing that song to them and we make sure that they know that. And if you don't already, you should start doing or whatever. It's because this is following a rabbi and having somebody to turn to is so crucial. And if you're living your life and you're going for a full year without asking a rabbi some kind of question, that's not Torah Judaism. That's, I mean, look, I'm not a posek. I'm not a rabbi poskening that's how it should be, but ask your rabbi. If I go for a year without asking a shaila or any kind of question, is this milk or meat spoon? Is this, how should I be handling my kids? If I'm asking 0 questions over the course of the year, does that mean that I'm not really, doing things properly? And they'll probably say, you ought to be asking questions. So we just have to know, okay, I hear it's not comfortable. Again, we're not after comfortability. We're after having the best relationships we possibly can. And that means that you have to ask shilas. And if you have to go to a rebbitzin and say, listen, my husband says to this kind of stuff to me, is this abuse? Is this hurtful? And they'll say, well, it has to be a professional in this, but, therapists will know, I think that's reasonable. I think you're being too sensitive, or no, he ought to see somebody to figure out how to speak to you better. Whatever it is, whatever the issue is that you're dealing with, getting help is the answer. Okay, next question.
So it's funny because meaning even someone who's, let's say, asking questions from a rabbi all the time, I completely understand this part, because even when I'm around my even till today, like 25 years married till today, if I'm around family members, like I want my husband and I to be on our best behavior, because God forbid someone should see my husband do something that they're going to be like in their minds afterwards going, oh my gosh, like he must treat her like that all the time. And they don't know the full spectrum of the background or what happened or why he's telling me what he's saying. And so we're so sensitive to how other people view our relationship. So turning to someone, even a rabbi, who you're then going to see in the synagogue or in shul, and you're going to be sitting there, and he's then going to have this impression in his head.
Yeah,
it's very uncomfortable.
I hear that. Okay, that's a good point. Maybe,
but I know it's important. I just had to get over it.
So maybe try and find someone out of town. Maybe that's the answer, is to find somebody. Wait, you went silent. Sorry. Okay. You answered something. I don't know what you said.
No, just because when you talk, I like to quiet down so you have the floor.
Oh, you're so cute. Okay.
you don't hear me breathing in the background.
Something. Okay, but anyway, the thing is, maybe find somebody out of town. If you have a sibling who lives in, another town, either out of town area or overseas or something, ask her for a name. Say, I had a question, or, whatever, or maybe you're worried that it'll somehow circle back and she'll say, what did you ask, or whatever. But try and maybe find somebody out of town, because I hear that. But I have to say, I'm in this business and I get asked a lot of questions by a lot of people. I have no idea. Like, a woman will ask me a very intimate, deep question, and I'll have no idea it was her. I mean, I can't imagine. Maybe if you have a rabbi with a photographic memory, you got a problem. But for me, like, people ask me the most intimate, embarrassing, whatever, and it's like, I know I was asked that question last year, but I don't remember who or what or why. So, and that's really their job. You think about in the old shtetl in the Ukraine, wherever it was in the old country, in old Eastern Europe. They didn't have cell phones. They couldn't call somebody in Slovakia and ask them a question. They had to, ask their rabbi, and the rabbi knew everything about them. And, God created that way. So God is going to either make that person, God willing, the rabbi, very forgiving and whatever, but also, like, let's say you ask a question, my husband says these kinds of things that are mean, what do you think? And then he says, well, here's how I would handle it and whatever. And then about a month later, the rabbi is giving a class to the whole community, and he'll throw in some input, like, make sure you never say this XYZ to your wife, and the husband's sitting in the audience saying, so it could work to your advantage as well. And you have to get over a little bit of the embarrassment, unless it's horribly embarrassing. Okay, good. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah, and I agree, because when we used to do the class together when we first started, and I at that point was sharing a lot through asking a rabbi and sharing things from my own marriage, I had so many people afterwards coming or calling or saying, wow, like I thought it was only me or only in my marriage. And I felt there is someone who can hear. And you can, if you ask, you really do get the answers. So
good.
Okay, so Jennifer, Rachel says, what gave you such a strong resolve to spread this Misora? And then she also wants to know, how do you spread this Misora?
Okay, good. So I'm just going to keep this short because it's a commercial for Leah Richeimer and for Ladies TalkShow. So whatever. Basically, the drive was my husband and I were like, okay, between now and the time we die after 120, we can whatever we can accomplish in that period of time. What would we want to put our time, energy? What would be the greatest impact on Klal Yisrael, on the world? And we could save the whales. We could save the crickets, and whatever. There's a lot of different causes. I mean, maybe there are more important things, hunger, and maybe there's some crucial things. But our thinking was that if we could repair marriages, and people were closer in their relationships, in their marriages, it trickles to everything. If there's peace in the home, there's peace in the world. If there's peace in the home, kids aren't, stealing and doing internet addictions and other horrible things. It just trickled out everywhere. It seemed to us like in our lifetime, the biggest impact we could make would be working on people having closer marriages and ending divorce. Because divorce, it's not just the couple that has horrible, post, it's the children that suffer the most and have a hard time, having role models and finding stability. And it's the single mothers are the ones who are suffering from the burden from this terrible tragedy that's in crisis that's encompassed our world, which is divorce is just so rampant, and there's not a whole lot of respite from it. There's only education, and that's what we're trying to do, because if people got there's some divorces that should happen, must happen, and get divorced right away, gas the proper people, but many I spoke with Rebbeim, and as many as 60 or 70 or 80% of divorces that are taking place today don't have to be happening. It's just a lack of education, lack of expectations and communication, and they can be healed. And that's what we're trying to address. The ones that can be saved, we want to save, and the marriages that are good, we want to make great, and the great marriages that are great, we want to make awesome, and the marriages that are awesome, we want them to be like shining lights for other people to use as role models to grow. So our whole mission is to get everybody on board with making Shalom bayis the number one priority in their life. And the way we're doing that is with getting our Misora, Marriage Secrets. There are plenty of good books on it, great books on it, or whatever. This just has 220 Torah sources in it. And so getting people to read more, getting them to listen to classes more, getting them to ask their rabbi, can you give can we do a Shabbos of Shalom? And the rabbi speaks to the men, and the Rebbitzin speaks to the women. We're trying to get the word out as much as possible. We're also in social media channels, which we've asked great Gedolim whether we should do this, and they said yes, on all of our social media channels, to try and spread the word and give as much education as we can. And everything we do is free. Actually, we just started a program not for free, because they convinced me that we need more intensive, so like we have boot camp on communication mastery and stuff like that. But basically 200 free shows, and then this Secret Wives Club. Okay, that's enough of the commercial. Okay, go to the next question.
Amazing. Okay, so you ready? This is a big one.
Okay.
Tova asks, I've always learned that my happiness is dependent on myself. How can I focus on doing things to make myself happy if my primary focus is supposed to be making my husband happy? And isn't he responsible for his own happiness too?
Wow. Beautiful question. Did I tell the story about the mohair sweater? Not last time? Anybody? No,
I don't think so.
Okay. So let me tell you about the mohair sweater. Here's the thing. You're walking by Nordstrom and you see in the window this gorgeous pink mohair sweater. It's like furry and whatever. It's got adorable pearl buttons, and it's just like the cat's meow. I don't know if it's your taste or not. Just pretend it's your taste. Okay. So you walk by and you go inside, and it's $310. You're like, oh, like, thank you. No, but you walk away and you feel bad and whatever, and you really loved it. Anyway, this goes on for a couple of days. You keep walking by back and forth in front of it and at work or whatever. One day it's not in the window anymore, and you go inside and it's on a sale rack, and it's $30. and you buy the mohair sweater and you are so happy and you put it on and you button it up and you feel like $1 million and you just like can't wait to work. You're thinking, can you wear this on a daily basis? I mean, whatever. And you walk out of the store and you feel like $1 million and you keep going to work. And then on the bench next to you is this woman who's wearing like 7 layers of clothes or whatever. And next to her is a homeless woman and her homeless daughter. And her homeless daughter is sitting there in a very thin dress with very light fabric, with no shoes, bare feet, bare legs, whatever. And she's shivering. Okay. And you look at her and you have such a feeling of sadness for this girl. You unbutton the pearls and you take the mohair sweater and you put it around the girl. And she looks up to you and she says, "Thank you so much. I'll always remember this." And you will always remember it. For the rest of your life, there's a certain sense of esteem, of pride, of whatever goes on in your life. You did something very, very beautiful. And that's the difference between getting, when you first put that mohair sweater on, and giving, which is what you did. The getting, okay, it was a happy feeling, you'd wear it every day for 3 months or whatever, and then it would sit in the closet, or, maybe you'd wear it for a year or 2 years, whatever. Getting is a certain amount of pleasure. I'm not denying it, but that giving to that little girl is something you will take pride in for the rest of your entire life. So to answer your question, getting is, getting happiness and getting happy. Happiness doesn't come from getting and from making sure your self-care, and well, it's important, but I'm just saying, and that you have the things that you want, and that making yourself happy, strangely enough, does not make you happy. Okay, does not make a person happy. What makes a person happy is, there's a myriad of answers, and I'm not an expert in this, but I will tell you one thing. There's a secret here, which is that giving is the greatest route to happiness of anything that you do. So I hear that, if you're focusing on making your husband happy, hey, what, Leah, hello, what about me? And what I'm saying to you is that you can sit there and say, okay, I'm gonna have a self-care day. I'm gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna, listen to music. I'm gonna go to the beach, whatever it is for you. I'm gonna listen to certain music or do artwork or whatever it is. Get the crocheting jack, okay? Okay, so we have to. Okay, right. Hello. So the issue is that doing things for yourself is part of contentment, but the ultimate joy in your life is going to come from being close to people, connecting with your husband, connecting with people, connecting with your children. That's what the true happiness is. And that doesn't come from focusing on your own happiness, focusing on everybody else. The side benefit to that is happiness. There's a lot of books on this, a lot of articles you can read about it. But there's a whole focus in America, or in this Western society about being happy and self-actualized, and so forth. There's nothing wrong with any of that. And there's nothing wrong with sort of trying to maximize your potential and being the best person you are. That's why we're here. We're trying to maximize who we are as people and maximize our mastery over ourselves, so that we can lead our life thoughtfully and create a world around us that it makes us feel content and happy. And that is focusing on others and giving to others. And you could start a journal, or if you're that type, or something on your computer where you type out, what are your happiest moments? And you'll see they don't really revolve around when you're sitting there pampering yourself, or I'm doing nails, or getting, what, like, your happiest moment in your life was probably not when you first got your new car. That it was probably something like you had a baby, or you had got married, or you took your grandmother to on a boat trip. Those are the things that are most precious. Okay, next question.
Okay, I think
this is the last question. Then we got to go. Yeah.
Yes, the last one. Okay. Okay. So do you believe we as women hold, this is from Tammy, who says, do you believe we as women hold the key to Shalom bayis? Is that why your show is aimed towards women?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello.
Yeah, no, because she continues and says, what about Shalom bayis education for men? Don't you think it's just as important?
Yeah, right. Very good. Okay, very good. So it is important, but I will tell you, I think there were like 62 women in this big course, and they were begging me, when's the course for men? When's the course for men? This whole thing, the Rambam, I would give this quote, when the Rambam says you should respect your husband exceedingly. And, this is later in the book. All right, we'll get to it. But anyway, you should respect your husband exceedingly. And the women are like, when he respects me, I'll respect him. Okay, I get it. Okay. Number one way of getting him to respect you is to respecting him. That's another story. We will get there. Stay tuned. But to answer this question is the fact that I had these 62 women in the class, and they're begging me, and I'd never done this. I've been teaching it for years, and I just thought, okay, I went to this rabbi who's very, very wise, and I told him the whole thing and how told him the curriculum the women were learning. Could he teach this? Could he whatever? So he said he'll do a class. So we had all of the women bring a sign-up sheet to their husbands. They all signed up. I think there were 44 or something like that signed up. Yes, we will take this class. So okay, we arranged it. We set the time, the date, the whatever. 4 men showed up. I was so embarrassed to the rabbi. I still am. Like, I see him on the streets and I'm like, hey, hello. But the men just don't, they're not like, this is not, women are relationship beings and men are doing their stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, to go sit there and listen to a man tell me what I should do and how I should do it and whatever. I'm not going to do it anyway. Maybe it'll be a good nap, so the men aren't driven in this, and the fact that they don't have an awesome marriage they don't lose sleep at night about it. Whereas a woman, if her husband, it's the same thing. If your husband, if you go out and you say, I'll be back around 2, somewhere around 5:30. Okay, when you haven't come back yet, he might say, where's dinner, dear, or something like whatever. If your husband says, I'll be back at 2, at 2:01, you are sure he's been hit by a bus. Okay, it's already 2:01. Women just have a different focus. That's just the way life is. So this might come across sexist or whatever, and I'm not in any way saying good, bad, ugly, whatever. I'm not making any judgment, and I stay away from these types of political discussions. But I am saying there are some, not everybody, but there are some differences between men and women. And what you have to know, the bottom line that you have to know is that rather than sitting here waiting for him to work on it, good luck with that, okay? If you work on this and start paying attention to various tips and techniques and listening to our Misora and getting the gist of it, of what it means to have an awesome marriage, you don't need your husband to do anything. You just be the way that the Torah teaches us what to be, which is to be a receiver. We're going to get there. And you being the receiver, being the largest vessel, the largest bowl of receiving as you possibly can. And your husband will naturally give to you more and more and more with every passing day. You will witness this. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of women who will say, it's true, my goodness, from my own experience, it's true. But this is guaranteed. It's a guaranteed curriculum that will get you all the things that you deeply, deeply need to have a satisfying and happy life. So stay tuned for next time, and we're going to go in deeper and deeper. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time.